Greetings, dear friends. Let's continue our work. In this lesson, we will work with fields, creating fields for the product. So let's go step by step. We have a field for the title, which is the product title directly. We will need a meta field for uploading an image. We will need it for languages. We will use taxonomies and create separate taxonomies for languages. Next, for platforms, note that we have a platform here and another one there. The types of platforms in principle can be combined. And for these platforms, I believe they are set by meta boxes. We can add another value for the text value, or we can create a separate field as a taxonomy. We'll probably create a separate field as a taxonomy. For genres, of course, a separate taxonomy, publisher, meta, single player meta, release date meta. Next, price, discount we have in WooCommerce. The button is already present. Functionality. For images, we'll probably create, once again, a separate meta box. And in them, we will store the images that we upload for the slider. For the description, probably another field in the meta box as well. So, let's move up. Let's deal with the taxonomies, because we have many taxonomies. Let's go to the plugin. The territory of the stove is core game store. In it, we have folders include games, meta games. So in the meta, we threw in the meta box. I'll open it. Here we will also add meta fields, but I will create an additional file, games, taxonomies, or tags, games-tag stove. And in this file, I will NADM register the necessary taxonomies. For me, so for registering taxonomies for adding meta fields, I always use artificial intelligence. It generates these fields very quickly. Maybe I'll just have to edit something, so let's open the chat and ask it to create. Let's create several taxonomies at once. Since one is for languages, one for platforms, and one for genres, and let's check if we created them in previous lessons because I don't remember anymore. So let's switch to the product tab and see we have brands, categories, and end tags. Tags and categories are... I don't remember about the brand from the camera. Maybe something was added, but I don't recall such a thing. But I think we didn't register it ourselves either. I don't remember, and there are no others. Okay, so a very simple request. Create PHP code for registering a personal taxonomy for WooCommerce products, for languages, for genres, and for platforms. Let's see what it generates. Seems like everything. Let's insert all this into the editor. Close the window and see what it generated. Firstly, there's no key, and most likely these taxonomies won't display on the screen. But first, of course, we will also load it. Therefore, right here, when we load GamesMet, we also load games tags. So you see, as you can clearly see, it's not loading yet because there are not enough parameters. Show in rest with the value of pipe. So for language, we add it. For genre, and for platforms, now it's wonderful. Next, these languages need to be added, either right here on the page or over here. So what do we have here? The layout has shifted. we have added here a column for the language. New columns were added in this code. Therefore, it's false here. Let's add, there's no space there. We don't need these data. That's better. And let's add added all the languages. The same needs to be done with genres and platforms. For genres, you can use from the filter. There are more genres here. In the same way, we add I will also pause now and add the rest. Added the genres. Platforms are left. This method is convenient because right now in our design, for example, we have 3 platforms or 3 genres, but we don't hard code them. We can add new ones at any time if the need arises. For example, PC, download, or PC physical disk. That is, it can be a file that is downloaded, or it can be a physical disk, or it can be anything else. A new console will be released, and a new platform will appear. And at any moment, using the site, we can add it right here. Everything is great. Let's return to our product, for which we will choose several languages. We need all, a couple of genres, all platforms, for example. Let's save. Next. For this image, we need meta fields, so we move to the games meta file. So let's try to have the chat generate an additional field for us. I ask it to generate PHP code for a personal meta field for uploading images. I ask it to use the current code structure since we are already adding note meta fields. And I would like, for example, to add these additional fields here as well, not in another section. So it generated something, but it's unclear where it started from, meaning this is not normal. We will figure it out now. Essentially, we are interested in this field. Along with JavaScript. Then we will insert it right after the multi-check there. Alright, we inserted the field. Next, we are interested in the handler for saving this field. Here it is. And nothing more in the chat. There's no result, so we'll close it and move to our function here, where the saving occurs. And add the saving here. Which comment can we remove? We don't need to do anything else. You remember that for meta registration, we essentially have 3 steps. 1. A meta box is created. A container, then HTML. Fields are created. Here we are, and I generated it, but again, with the help of the camera functions, and using update post meta, we save it. This value is stored. It will be under the key game store, and maybe this key can be renamed. I'm not a specialist in games, but most likely this icon, which limits by age or maybe by something else, needs to be named thematically somehow. Well, okay, it's clear enough what it's for. This meta field, let's take a look. Refresh the page. Scroll down, go to the Game Store tab, and consequently, here we have the opportunity to load this value. Let's save the image. Here you can save it directly as PNG. Upload it, insert it, everything can be displayed, or it can be hidden. I won't display it, it's clear enough that the value is set. In the publisher field, insert this publisher. Publisher, you can do the same using taxonomies. You can also use a meta box, essentially both meta boxes and taxonomies. It's convenient because we can set up filtering in Kira by one field or another, so it doesn't really matter to us, but of course it's recommended to divide them thematically. It's clear what we have as taxonomies and what as a meta box. Let's put these stops here. Why do we have two closer? Let's check it. And here, I see it's displayed in green. So I inserted this code, copied it, and didn't even notice that I took it from the chat. Yes. Well, let's double check. Yes, indeed, I took it from the chat. It didn't insert a piece, and probably I copied it carelessly and pasted it twice. So I'm deleting this piece from here, the theme and bindings. I will refresh the page. Now we insert publish, here once again. We'll select our image and save this value. Let's refresh the page to make sure the data is saved. Yes, the data is saved perfectly. Next. For the description, for this description, a short description. You see, we have a short description field. Let's use this field right there. Let's add this description, meaning this is the field of the camera itself. Next, single player and release date. Will be faster if we manually create these fields. Then I create an empty text field. You can go the extra mile and make a checkbox if it's single player. But it's convenient to create a text field because the logic might change, and maybe the value isn't simple, but rather something more complex. And the user will be able to add the text they need. That's why I often settle for just placing a simple text field. And besides the field itself, a handler for saving. That is, for saving, we check the ID to see if there is a value for this key. So he is looking at a global variable post. How is it set up? This is a form. When I press save, it gets sent, a submit occurs. And thus, if such a field with such a value attribute exists here, and it goes there, I check it by this key. If it has a value, please you, give it to me. Calling the update post meta function, I pass it the current ID of the current post, specifying the key, which it should search for in the database, and there throw me the value from this variable, but sanitize this value so that there is nothing prohibited in it. All right? And The second field I wanted to add is release date. Let's generate some field for the date maybe. Maybe there is a function in eCommerce for generating a date. So let's ask I don't remember this part. I ask if it has a special function for the date. If yes, then please generate a new field. So he tells me that yes, it can be done. You can pass the date type, and then it will insert this date attribute. Well, let's try it. That is, we use the same VIP function and text input, but add an additional attribute. This needs to be checked because artificial intelligence often just makes things up. Well, and to avoid writing. A handler for saving, I'll copy it. It's already inserted there. This stash will be faster. There is no verification. Let's do it. First we check if there is something in this field. Then we create a variable and insert this value into it if it exists. Let's update on the website. Scroll down to the section with meta boxes. So, yes, the field is generated, but it's unclear why this hint is on the left instead of the right. Let's delete it. Yes, it's much better now. Let's choose a release date, any date. And single player. We'll write yes. Great, let's update. Well, saving should work 100%. You see, everything works perfectly. So we've implemented this batch of meta fields. Let's look further. Let's deal with this large description. Up to this point, a body with a classic editor was used for the large description, but we adapted it for Gutenberg to throw the entire page there. Therefore, essentially everything we have in this block won't be in Gutenberg, but will be in additional meta fields. Consequently, a new field needs to be created for this description. Where can we insert it? We can add a separate field here or here. Let's register a new meta section. We are working in the same file. This is a large description for the product. I don't want to add a small field. I want to make a similar separate one. You see, because a simple text input for the description or even a text area is not a suitable option. Okay, so we are making classic meta boxes in 3 steps. First, we create the meta box. We create a hook. In it, I will have add meta box. First, the ID, we will set it. Second, the title. Third, the callback. I am using tab now, pressing it and confirming what the AI suggests, because you have to understand the AI has been trained on hundreds of lines of code, and in every project, meta boxes are registered hundreds of times, taxonomies are created, and it handles it like Tux 2. That's why everything happens so quickly. Next, post type product in my case. Next, normal. And the priority is high for this matter. We will put a semicolon on this meta boxes. Action is boxes. I don't know such a supply. There I have this, sorry. It's a box with. Next. Now we need to generate a field. In this we will create another function. We use this callback. This function will receive the post. As the body, I will use the vpdit function, but I will store the value in a meta field. Using autocomplete, I will set this value in the content variable and retrieve it using getPostMeta by key. Game store description. Let's maybe not just description, but full description. Like this. In my opinion, this value should also be the key of the meta box and nothing more for this function. This callback needs to be generated using the VP editor. Such an editor. Next, we need a handler for saving. The third step for our meta box. And we can pass it wait and call the function update post meta for the key full description, the value that will come from this text area. Full description. But first let's finish it saving. Action. We'll insert it on save post. It should this should only happen when some basic checks are implemented. Let's add them here. First, if it's not autosave, if the variable postgame store full description does not exist. And also check if the user has the rights to edit. If not, then we will not save, hence with negation. That is, if the current user cannot edit, we exit, we do not reach this pause line. Go to the site, refresh the page, scroll down, and we see a new field, you see game description, where I can add this. The value. We save, just update it. Our data is not being saved. We made a mistake somewhere, so meta box, but I assume that here we don't need the underscore. And when we do the check, we do this check without any. This is not our reason. Looks normal. Let's test it again. Maybe I missed something. Set the value again and save. So why here define? That needs to be defined. I'm not defining it. Further, what else could be here? There's no box here. Here's a typo. And let's fix it at the same time. It's incorrect here. Now it should work. Let's add some value. Update. Yes, it works perfectly now. So once again, we fill it with real value. Also, here, we can, insert some bold tag. And by the way, let's also take additional care of security, because here we are essentially sending what we receive to the database from here. We should use the wp-kisses post function. This function will only allow those HTML tags that are available in WordPress in this editor. That is, if I add some JavaScript code or other HTML tags through the text, they should not pass only strong, only italics, only lists, and so on will pass. That is all the tags that we have here. Therefore, we clean using such a function vpt-access. Next, as we did for previous methods, we can first perform a check. The eSet function from our global post with our key is present. Then we kind of call this function update post meta. And here we close it carefully like this. And basically that's it. Let's look above for the meta boxes, what we did. Of course, we can also add nonces, a special function that is created and used when there are forms. But that would be unnecessary. We won't complicate things now. Let's update once more to make sure everything works perfectly. After which we added changes and edited something here. Let's make it italic like this. Let's save. Update it. Everything works perfectly. The next thing we need to implement here is the functionality for images. Usually, I also do them through a meta box, a simple meta box, just in the form of an array. And there I save either 3 or 100 images, and I have a template that I carry from one project to another. In another, you can generate this meta field using artificial intelligence. It's faster than doing it manually. You saw how I tried to write this field by hand and typos immediately appeared. I do it a bit faster, but we are now in the territory of WooCommerce, and WooCommerce has its own separate field, product gallery, and we can use it and simply store images through this gallery but select them elsewhere. That is, in our section, let's try to take advantage of this and save first the image. I'll add an image here. Let me try to add this same image again. And once more, that is 3 times. Let's save. And that's basically all the data for our post. Well, no, the image reset. You see only one image. Then we'll create a new image here. Let's change the image like this and save and upload the second one. All right, now I have 2 images for the slider. I have the data. We don't need any more data. For this section, everything we needed is already there. But there are some fields, for example, this word, yes, Vision Games Play, or game description. We can add fields for them too, but I'll just hard code them. I'll create it in the block itself. It will be a dynamic block. So I'll define these fields there. With this, we conclude this lesson. In the next lesson, we will create a block to display this data on the front end.